She's gotten so weird. She used to be so much fun, but now she's just a downer.
She just wants us all to feel sorry for her. It's pathetic what some people will do for attention. What a freak. Can you imagine how crazy he's going to be when he's older?
He's so unstable. One day he's going to snap.
Oh my god, he's such a loser.
It's easy to label someone as crazy, unstable, or attention-seeking when they behave in ways we don't understand.
What's harder is recognizing that these people may be suffering from mental illness and having the strength and the courage to offer them your support.
When I was in high school, I knew someone who suffered from a mental illness.
I knew someone who was outgoing, social, and full of life. But then I saw a major change in their behavior.
I knew someone who would constantly worry for no reason at all. Simple tasks like doing the laundry, getting ready for school, or taking a test seemed like insurmountable tasks.
They stopped hanging out with their friends and would walk through the hallways with their head down, never making eye contact with anyone.
I knew someone who lost their love for life. Someone who felt a sadness follow them everywhere that they went.
I knew someone who was always happy and cheerful, but then I never saw them smile.
They would constantly find themselves battling thoughts that went through their mind, and they would act in compulsive ways to help them deal with these thoughts.
They became extremely irritable and would randomly snap at their friends and family for no reason at all.
When I was in high school,
I knew someone who had all of these signs and symptoms of mental illness.
that someone was me.
That someone was me.
I have struggled with anorexia nervosa for the majority of my life, but it was not until my transition into high school that my eating disorder escalated out of control. Just the thought of eating food would overwhelm me with anxiety and fear.
My biggest fear growing up was not being normal. I did everything I could to make it seem, to act like everything was normal. I mean, I had a normal upbringing. There was no reason for me to be anything but normal. Maybe that's why it took me so long to get help. At the age of 11, I started to experience intense bouts of anxiety. I started to get depressed, ignoring the world for days. I started to obsess over certain thoughts that I wanted no part of, and thoughts that no matter how hard I tried to fight, I couldn't get out of my mind. I started to act in compulsive ways in order to help me deal with my anxiety. I didn't want to think that anything was wrong with me. I wanted to be normal. But the truth was, I was suffering from a mental illness.
I stopped hanging out with my friends to avoid social situations where I may be forced to eat. I became depressed and irritable, constantly starting fights with my family in an attempt to push them away. It was not long before everyone in my life began to talk and have an opinion on what was going on with me. Some thought that I was doing it for attention, that I was vain and obsessed with my appearance. Others told me that I looked unhealthy. Some even said that I looked disgusting. But when I looked in the mirror, I did not see that my cheeks were caved in or that my skin had a gray, lifeless tone. All I saw was imperfection. I could not accept that I had a problem, even when my hair started to fall out and I did not get my period for over 2 years.
It took me a couple years before I finally got help. But when I did, I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder, depression, and obsessive compulsive disorder.
It was like my body had been taken over by another person, a controlling, irrational being that was constantly telling me that I was not good enough. I became a slave to this voice inside of my head. Diet and exercise did not just consume all of my thoughts, it controlled them.
Generalized anxiety disorder. Being constantly worried, feeling anxious for no reason at all. Feeling like every decision was the biggest decision I'd ever have to make. Feeling paralyzed by simple choices, like deciding what I was going to wear to school that day, or deciding what I was going to eat for lunch. Depression. Feeling like the entire world was my enemy. Having no motivation to do almost anything, especially getting out of bed. Obsessive compulsive disorder. Inappropriate thoughts that would not leave my mind, no matter how hard I tried to fight them. Thoughts that would lead me to act in compulsive ways, like washing my hands, in order to help me deal with my fear of germs.
At less than 80 pounds, my body began to shut down. I was slowly killing myself by striving for the unattainable. Every day became a struggle, and I grew tired of fighting to regain control of my life. Although I was unable to find the strength to ask my parents directly for help, I was able to stop fighting them. I was able to let them put me in the car and take me to McMaster Children's Hospital. On September 16th, 2005, 2 weeks into my grade 10 year, I was hospitalized for 3 of the longest months of my life. For the first 3 weeks, I was on bed rest and had to be attached to an ECG machine 24 hours a day because my heart was so weak it could have stopped beating at any second. To my doctors, it was a miracle that I was still alive, that I hadn't dropped dead walking to school. I never thought that I would go so far. I never thought that at 21 years old, I would feel lucky to be alive.
Not a lot of people knew what I was going through. I was a great actor. I had this amazing ability to make it seem like everything was okay, that everything was great. But really on the inside, I was battling. I think a lot of people with mental illness do the same. We don't want others to think there's anything different about us. I guess that's just part of the stigma.
The path to recovery was not easy, and I would be lying if I said that I was 100% better today. But through treatment, I have learned to control my anorexic thoughts and to ask for help when I am struggling.
Even today, not a lot of my friends know that I suffer from a mental illness. But I'm past that. I want others to know what I was going through. Because I can't change what I was given. I want them to accept. I don't know where I'd be today if I didn't seek help. Definitely not here sitting in front of you telling you my story about recovery. It took me a while before I finally got help, but the earlier you get help, the better. Today I see a psychiatrist, I see a counselor, I have the support of my family, and I have the support of the community.
My mental illness will always be a part of me, but I will never let it define who I am or limit my potential in life. Today, 6 years later, I am in my first year of medical school at McMaster University.
I used to see my mental illness as a burden or a curse, but I no longer see it that way. I now understand what other people with a mental illness go through, and I can offer them support because I've been there.
I am one of the lucky ones.
I am one of the lucky ones.
I am proof that there is hope for people struggling with mental illness.
And that there is help available if you can find the strength within yourself to reach out for it.
2 in 10 Canadians will be affected by mental illness in their lifetime.
But you're not alone.
There are ways to get help and support.
Things can get better.
Take the first step now.
Happy isn't far away.